In the mid-1980s, a scandal erupted that would rock the Reagan administration to its very core, exposing a shadow government operating outside the law, a web of secret deals, and a trail of lies that reached the highest levels of the White House. This is the story of the Iran-Contra affair, a tale of arms for hostages, covert wars, and a constitutional crisis that questioned the very nature of American democracy. Imagine this. It is 1985. 7 Americans are held hostage in Lebanon by groups with ties to Iran. The official U.S. policy is firm. We do not negotiate with terrorists. Publicly, President Ronald Reagan is a picture of strength, vowing never to trade arms for hostages. But behind closed doors, a desperate and secret plan was taking shape. The administration, driven by a desire to free the hostages and a strategic hope of opening a back channel to moderate elements in Iran, decided to do the unthinkable. They began to secretly sell advanced anti-tank and anti-aircraft missiles to Iran, the very nation they publicly condemned as a state sponsor of terrorism. The deal was brokered through a shadowy network of international arms dealers and intermediaries, with Israel playing a key role in the initial shipments. The logic was simple. If deeply flawed, provide the Iranians with weapons, and in return, they would use their influence to secure the release of the American hostages. It was a direct violation of stated U.S. policy and an embargo on selling weapons to Iran. The first shipments were made, and slowly, a few hostages were released. To the secret operators in the White House, it seemed their high-stakes gamble was paying off, but this was only one half of the equation. The money from these illegal arms sales wasn't just disappearing. It was being funneled into another, even more controversial covert operation, thousands of miles away in Central America. Welcome to Nicaragua. A fierce civil war was raging between the left-wing Sandinista government and a collection of right-wing rebel groups known as the Contras. The Reagan administration viewed the Sandinistas as a dangerous communist foothold in the Western Hemisphere and was determined to support the Contras. But Congress, wary of getting bogged down in another Vietnam-style conflict, had passed the Boland Amendment, explicitly prohibiting U.S. government assistance to the Contras. The front door was closed. So, a key figure in the National Security Council, a decorated Marine lieutenant colonel named Oliver North, decided to build a back door. The money from the Iranian arms sales provided the perfect off-the-books slush fund. Profits from selling missiles to the Ayatollah were secretly diverted to arm and supply the Contras in Nicaragua. It was a brilliant and illegal scheme, a clandestine enterprise run from the basement of the White House, complete with Swiss bank accounts, front companies, and a private network of pilots and soldiers. They called it the Enterprise. They were funding a secret war that Congress had forbidden, using money from an illegal arms deal with a hostile nation. The whole operation was a house of cards, built on secrecy and deception, and in late 1986, it all came crashing down. The beginning of the end came not from Washington, but from a newspaper in Lebanon, which first broke the story of the secret arms sales to Iran. Suddenly, the story was everywhere. The administration initially denied everything. President Reagan went on national television and flatly stated, "We did not trade weapons or anything else for hostages." But the truth has a way of coming out. At the same time, a plane carrying supplies for the Contras was shot down over Nicaragua. The lone surviving crew member, an American named Eugene Het, was captured and revealed he was working for the CIA. The two secret operations were now dangerously close to being linked. Back in Washington, panic set in. Inside the National Security Council offices, a frantic effort began to cover up the paper trail. Oliver North and his secretary, Fawn Hull, began a marathon shredding session, destroying thousands of documents that could expose the entire operation. They altered ledgers and deleted computer files, trying to erase any link between the Iran arms sales and the funding of the Contras, but they missed something. They didn't realize that the White House computer system kept backup copies of their electronic messages. These saved messages would become the smoking gun, a digital breadcrumb trail that investigators would later piece together, revealing the intricate details of the conspiracy. The shredders could destroy the paper, but they couldn't destroy the truth. In the summer of 1987, the nation was captivated by televised congressional hearings. One by one, the key players were called to testify under oath. The star of the show was Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. In his Marine uniform, adorned with medals, he presented himself as a patriot, a loyal soldier who had done what he believed was necessary to fight communism and save American lives. He defiantly admitted to lying to Congress, shredding documents, and running the covert operation. He argued his actions were justified, even noble, and he famously declared, "I was authorized to do what I did." North's impassioned testimony turned him into a folk hero for some, a symbol of can-do patriotism. But for others, he was the face of a rogue government that held itself above the law. A chilling symbol of constitutional overreach. The hearings exposed the deep chasm within the government and the American public. In the end, the Iran-Contra affair left a trail of indictments, convictions, and presidential pardons. Several top officials, including the National Security Advisor and the Secretary of Defense, were implicated. While President Reagan claimed he was unaware of the diversion of funds to the Contra Special Commission report criticized his detached, hands-off management style, concluding that he had allowed a culture of secrecy and lawlessness to fester within his own administration. The scandal severely damaged Reagan's credibility and left a lasting scar on the presidency. The legacy of the Iran-Contra affair is complex. It serves as a stark warning about the dangers of unchecked executive power and the temptation to sacrifice democratic principles for foreign policy objectives. It raised fundamental questions about accountability, oversight, and the role of secrecy in a free society. It was a moment when the American people were forced to confront a dark truth, that their own government had lied to them, broken the law, and conducted a secret war with money from an enemy state. The echoes of that shredder in the White House basement can still be heard today. A constant reminder that the line between patriotism and lawlessness can sometimes be dangerously thin. Thanks for watching, and if you found this deep dive interesting, be sure to subscribe for more stories from the hidden corners of history.